Fire at a chemical plant in Sterlington. We'll have the details coming up.
And a woman is accused of trying to set her boyfriend's house on fire. What led up to the arson?
Also tonight, another arrest in the Canal Street shooting in New Orleans.
Right now, KNOE 8 News live at 6. Your breaking news and weather authority.
So whenever that alarm goes off, it brings back the memories of 91, and they panic, and they have every right to, you know.
Plant today, it's the same place where 8 people were killed back in 1991. Good evening to you. I'm Jennifer Andrews.
And I'm Jeff Horchak. We have team coverage tonight. Courtney Cole tells us what protocols the city takes when it comes to emergency situations at the chemical plant. But first, our Tyler Wan joins us live from the plant with what happened today. Tyler?
Well, an Angus representative tells us there's a small fire at a production area earlier. Although there were no reported injuries, Sterlington police say it's important to prepare for the worst.
Thank God that it didn't turn out, to be an actual life-threatening emergency.
The cause of the fire is still unknown, but an Angus representative tells us the fire was handled without any injuries or damage to the environment.
The automated fire suppression system at the site was activated and immediately extinguished the fire. The emergency alert system at the plant was activated, notifying the community, and Angus notified the local fire department as a precaution.
Sirens rang out and first responders made their way to the plant. Though the situation was under control, Police Chief Barry Bonner says this is something they take very seriously, especially considering the town's past.
And 91 was the first time we ever had something like that happen. It rocked the town pretty good. It took several lives and destroyed a lot of property.
Bonner says the explosion at the IMC fertilizer plant in the 90s changed the way residents respond to these situations.
So whenever that alarm goes off, it brings back the memories of 91, and they panic, and they have every right to,
He says because of that, no matter what the situation, officials stay prepared for the worst case scenario.
The fact of, because it did happen, it can happen again. So you do take it serious, and hopefully it's a false alarm. Hopefully it doesn't go, to that point, but you act like it is.
The representative tells us they are currently investigating the cause of the fire, and the plant is back up and running. Jennifer, Jeff, back to you.
Sterlington Middle School was alerted to an incident at Angus Company today. The authorities have assured us there is no threat, chemical or otherwise. Students are safe at school.
Well, that was the message that parents of Sterlington Middle School students got today, alerting them of the Angus Chemical Company fire.
Yeah, the call went out just before noon after the plant contacted the school directly. Courtney Cole joins us live at Sterlington Middle School. And Courtney, what procedures does the company have when they notify the community?
Jennifer, I spoke to a representative from Angus Chemical Company who says that anytime there's an emergency at the plant, their first priority is the safety of the workers and then the first responders who have to respond to that afterwards. Now, anytime that there is any sort of threat or emergency, as soon as they determine their own procedures, they then go about notifying people who live and work here in Sterlington. That's exactly what happened today. They notified the principal here at Sterlington Middle School, who then contacted the rest of the school system. And according to the Ouachita Parish School Board Superintendent Dr. Don Coker, they placed the students in the auditorium for a period of time today to make sure that they were not exposed to any possible chemical radiation or exposure. And the plant also calls state police, the Coast Guard, and other agencies for plant emergencies. And when it comes to alerting the general public, Sterlington police have their own system in place.
When they notify us, well, then we make sure that our schools, that our middle school over here, town hall, any other businesses that need to be notified that what's going on. If it got to a point to where it was a severe situation, we would shut down LA2, stop the traffic from coming back up down in front of the plant, and then we would start notifying people intercom, with units.
The North Monroe Baptist Church does have a contract with Ouachita Parish School Board where they serve as an evacuation site in the event that is needed. For right now, I'm reporting live at Sterlington Middle School. Courtney Cole, KNOE 8 News. Jeff and Jennifer, back to you.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Courtney. All right, another news tonight, a warning from the Washita School Board. They say a fraudulent group is soliciting funds for West Monroe High School. Well, in exchange, they say they will promise advertising at the baseball complex. Well, the school says it is not looking for sponsors and it would not use an outside group, even if they were.
A Monroe man is accused of stealing from a vehicle in the Booker T neighborhood has been arrested. Now, reports say that Monroe police were called to Halsell Street and say the victim, Kenneth Dixon, broke into their blue Dodge Charger. Police say that he took a book bag and loaded it with a power drill and a Vaughn hammer. Kenneth denied breaking into the vehicle and is charged with burglary simple from motor vehicle.
Well, a West Monroe man facing new charges after trying to escape jail. Police say they were trying to book Rakeem Gorey when he tried to escape through the open front gate and force his way past the officers. Well, eventually they stopped him. He is now charged with aggravated escape and battery of a correctional facility employee. And 2 arrests after a house fire near Dodson. Officials say it happened November 4th in the 500 block of Brewer Road. They say Courtney Weaver and Tristan Hill of Winfield were staying with Weaver's boyfriend. Well, during an argument, they were evidently told that they needed to go. Investigators say Hill admits that she saw Weaver set the fire. She's charged with simple arson and child desertion. Hill is charged with accessory after the fact.
A second suspect in the December 1st Canal Street shooting that left 12 injured has been arrested in East Baton Rouge Parish. Labrison Polidor of St. Mary Parish was arrested yesterday, and Stafford Starks was arrested in St. Mary Parish. Polidor will be booked with 10 counts of attempted second-degree murder, illegal carrying and discharge of weapons, and obstruction of justice.
Upon encountering one another, they began to fire handguns that they were armed with. Not just striking or firing at one another, but also jeopardizing the lives of innocent bystanders that we had here for the Bayou Classic activity that was here for that particular weekend. These arrests are not the end of this investigation. This is very much so an open and active investigation, and there may be more arrests to follow.
Now, Ferguson says that through their investigation, they have determined that 12 people were shot that night. That's 2 more than originally reported.
Right now we're in the Mississippi River digging a channel, pumping marsh creation, and next job could possibly be offshore, borrowing sand from offshore to create Barrier Island.
Well, the Mississippi River is being dredged by one of the most modern dredges in America.
John Snell shows us the new cutting-edge technology.
Sporting giant teeth, a cutter head chews at the Mississippi River bottom. The brand new JS Chatry, one of the largest and most modern dredges in America, acts like a supersized vacuum cleaner, sucking up not dust but river mud and delivering it by pipe into the surrounding wetlands.
We got 6 or 7 miles of submerged pipeline out here.
Mark Sickles with Weeks Marine points out they can target exactly where to place the dredge material, building land instantly.
Takes the material right from the cut where you're digging and pumps it directly to where you want it to go. That's the most efficient way to dredge.
The $60 million dredge sports 22,000 horsepower under the hood and brain power on the bridge.
So this is a representation of his guidance system. It shows where he is in the channel.
Shane Harris says the operator knows precisely where he is, where he's been, and how much material he's carved from the river bottom.
Right now we're in the Mississippi River digging a channel, pumping marsh creation, and next job could possibly be offshore, borrowing sand from offshore to create Barrier Island.
2019 goes down in the record books. On the Mississippi and its many tributaries, the longest period of high water recorded in over a century. A high river means a muddier Mississippi, potentially clogging the channel if it's not maintained. Sean Duffy is a maritime industry representative.
I call this the largest wetlands restoration project in the world.
The Army Corps now manages to save about half the material dredged near the mouth of the river. In this case, the JS Chatry pipes sediment into a state wildlife management area 2 miles from the ship. Over the last 11 years, dredges have coughed up 10,000 acres of new land. At one point this year, the Corps deployed 7 dredges near head of passes. None of this comes cheap. U.S. taxpayers spent $200 million this year keeping the Mississippi River Channel deep enough for ocean-going ships.
This is one of the busiest ship channels in the United States of America. There's millions of tons of agricultural products that are moving out of this channel, and it's key to the entire country. This is not just a Louisiana project. This is a project for America.
And near the mouth of the river, there's just a little bit more Louisiana.
A 125-year-old church burned down in Grambling. We talked to the pastor and the congregation. We'll have more coming up.
Also, a third arrest in the shooting death of Daryl Stevenson. Find out who is in custody.
We're live from the Mercedes-Benz Superdome for the State High School Football Championships.
Right now, KNOE 8 News live at 6, your breaking news and weather authority.
We may have lost this old building, but we're going to get a new one, and we'll be building something better for the future generation.
Well, a 125-year-old church in Grambling burned down last night. Good evening to you. I'm Jennifer Andrews.
Hello, I'm Jeff Horchak. Tyler Wan joins us live from the China Grove Missionary Baptist Church. Tyler, what did the pastor have to tell you today?
Well, Pastor Damian Wilson says this church was a part of so many different families in the area. He said it's hard to believe something like this can happen, but through faith, the church will rebuild.
I don't look at it as a setback. I just look at it for preparation for what's next.
Pastor Damian Wilson says that around 2 in the morning, he got a phone call about a fire in the church's kitchen area. By the time he got there, he says the church was completely in flames.
As you can see behind us, totally took everything out, but no one was here, so that's the blessing that nobody lost their life.
Wilson says some members of the congregation have been attending for 70 to 80 years, and the church means a lot to them.
To me, it's been a building block for all of those. It gave me strength to carry on when things are bad.
But they say it's important to remember, the church isn't the building, it's the people.
To me, the folks in the church are in the building that we worship. Or the church. So
Wilson says they're still trying to find a place to meet in the meantime, but he says they're going to keep worshiping, even if he has to host in his house. He says this fire is a God-given opportunity for the church to come back even stronger.
So sometimes you have to lose some things to gain some things, and that's what we may have lost this old building, but we're going to get a new one, and we'll be building something better for the future generation, and it's going to be a new thing that God is doing through this church.
The state fire marshal is currently investigating the fire. A spokesperson told us that it's still too early to determine the cause or whether or not foul play was involved. Jennifer, Jeff, back to you.
All right, appreciate it. Thank you, Tyler. All right, in other news, new details tonight on a murder in South Monroe. A third arrest has now been made. Reports show Robert Coleman is charged with second-degree murder. He is accused in the shooting death of Daryl Stevenson outside a funeral home at South 5th and Winsboro Road, September 20th. According to a family member, he was there for the wake of a friend who was killed a week before.
We prayed, and God heard us. He know we have faith, and they say faith without work is dead. And I know he heard every prayer, he saw every tear, and I'm just so happy that we to this point where justice is finally finna be served.
It's served. In October, Aston Bass was charged with obstruction of justice. Documents show he was seen on video removing shell casings from the scene. And in September, Devontae Coleman was charged with second-degree murder. Meantime, a Bastrop woman was killed in a car crash yesterday. State police say Shirley Goodman was heading north on Highway 139 last night, just south of Neff Avenue, and that is when she crossed the southbound lane and hit a mailbox and a fence. Police say she was wearing her seatbelt but died at the scene.
We have an update on the financial troubles in the city of Sterlington. The town is still trying to climb out of massive debt, multi-million-dollar debt. Today, the mayor and the town fiscal administrator updated state lawmakers on its financial situation. Now, the fiscal administrator says as of December 2nd, more than $400,000 in debt was paid along with payroll. He says the revenue plan is working, but the city is still in the red. Now, the sports complex and a more than $2 million water well system deal are behind the debt problems. The previous mayor entered a deal with Capstone Metering to install a water well and meters, but the well was built on private property, and there's another problem.
I have seen nothing that says anybody has taken any money from the city or the town of Sterlington. The $1.6 million went directly to Capstone meters. But I don't believe we've got, you can go to the town of Sterlington, they've got meters in the ground, but they don't have a water filtration system.
And again, the water well is on private property, but the town is working with the landowner about buying the land or doing a land swap deal. Well, Louisiana residents pay the second highest auto insurance rates in the country. This is according to the Louisiana Coalition for Common Sense. While Louisiana drivers don't have more accidents based on the national average, the state has more than twice the national average in bodily injury claims that are filed.
In other news, Louisiana lawmakers are fighting over your tax dollars. The governor cannot submit a budget without knowing how much the state will collect in tax money. Well, that forecast comes from the Revenue Estimating Conference, which could not reach an agreement today.
It's a disservice to the people of the state to endure another year or several months of meaningless and fruitless debate driven solely by a desire to fight with the governor.
But I think it's time, as you can see the change in the legislature on both sides, that we start doing things differently. This is one of those steps.
Coming up tonight at 10, we'll explain that spat and why your money is at the heart of the disagreement.
And Louisiana's Attorney General Jeff Landry is in the nation's capital this week. He's attending the annual Attorneys General Conference to discuss a number of topics. Now, at the top of Landry's list, help communities and businesses plan better when they are hit by a natural disaster.
Louisiana, we unfortunately have a lot of experience with a lot of major disasters. How do you best control that chaos? How do you triage the situations? Once you get them to medical attention, where do you go after?
And as president of the National Association of Attorneys General, he released an updated blueprint to help AGs be more equipped to respond to crises like mass shootings and natural disasters.
Well, Louisiana Supreme Court Justice Marcus Clark is retiring. He's from West Monroe and graduated from ULM, and he's leaving in the middle of his 10-year term. The Associate Justice began his judicial career back in 1997 as district judge to the 4th District. In 2009, he was elected to the Louisiana Supreme Court. A letter sent to the governor says his retirement date is June 30th, but no reason was given. The election to fill his term is November 3rd.
Well, 3 Northeast Louisiana schools are heading to the Big Easy for a chance at the high school football state championship.
This is exciting. Sports director Aaron Dietrich joining us live from the Superdome in New Orleans. Aaron, what can you tell us?
Hello, welcome to Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Since 1981, this has been the home of the state championships, but a majority of select schools this year decided to take their ball and go play somewhere else. OCS and Stephen Fitzhugh, they wanted no part of it. So the LHSA commissioner rewarded them with a championship game under the lights.
So to not allow, for whatever reasons, you can't put a price tag on the experience. And unfortunately, there are some schools that did put a price tag on it, and I don't know what that price tag is. I don't care what that price tag is. At the end of the day, this is priceless.
You got that right. It is a priceless experience. Coming up later in sports, you'll hear from OCS, Faraday, and Oak Grove as they get ready to go after those state championships. Reporting live from the Mercedes-Benz Superdome, I'm Aaron Dietrich. Back to y'all.